What's going on, everybody? Mortem here, this time bringing you a blast from my own past at the very least in the form of Forgotten Realms' Demon's Stone. As I have played this game a ton, actually, all the way back around when it first released. I don't remember exactly, it's been like almost 20 years, with it originally releasing back in like 2004. But the reason I'm covering it actually, or the reason I wanted to make a video about it anyway, is that it actually recently got a Steam release back on, I believe it was August 12th, and this was done by a company named Sneg, I believe, and they have been going back and revamping and basically making playable a ton of the old D&D games from yesteryear. Basically that whole back catalog, they've been doing the minimum work required basically to get it all up and running. With that in mind, this is not a remake or a remaster. At best, you could call it a re-release. Basically all they've done here is got it working on modern machines, and even then, judging by some of the Steam reviews, not always. So I should probably start this video by saying that, to be very blunt, should you play this game? Probably not. It's not particularly good. It has not aged particularly well. And yet, in spite of all that, I kind of loved this game as a kid, actually. And strangely enough, I all but forgot it existed until like right before its Steam launch. Now, it took me a little while to free up some time to take a look at this real quick. But when I initially had somebody ask if I was going to take a look at it, I was like, man, that name sounds familiar. Where have I heard that? And then I looked it up, and then like as soon as I saw the key art for the game, I had all these memories come flooding back, and I knew I wanted to talk about it when I had an opportunity to do so. This title, which was honestly pretty bargain bin even when it released, is a game I got to play because it is one of the only video games that was bought for me when I was a child. I want to say around the age of 12 or 13. Not exactly sure when I played this, as honestly the memories are a little hazy, as I don't like remembering a lot of that stuff, because as many people know, I did not have a great childhood. I've mentioned it here and there, and this is like one of the only games from that time period I got to play for myself, because I don't even remember the details. Somebody got it for me, and I played it constantly, and that's saying something because it's not a particularly long game or with a lot of mechanics or anything, which we'll get into momentarily, but nonetheless, I thought it was awesome at the time with our three protagonists, Rannick, Jai, and Ilias, and as a bit of embarrassing cringe lore for you, I thought the name Ilias was so cool that I used it in like video games and stuff for a long time. Or sometimes I would slightly alter it to Ilium. So to recap a little bit there, is this game good? Not really. Is it a game you should play? Also not really. Has it aged particularly well? No, but it was a ton of nostalgia for me, and I just kind of wanted to talk about it. So with all of that explained, let's actually talk about the game itself now. So what is really good about this game is actually some of the voice acting. Like, they got Patrick Stewart doing some of the narration as an example. The story itself is from R.A. Salvatore, I believe. I hope I'm not mispronouncing that, but, you know, a very well-known author in the space. And those two things combined kind of hard carry what is good about this game, because our three protagonists here, bound together by fate after coming together in the wake of two orc armies fighting each other, they inadvertently set free two long-imprisoned villains who had been fighting each other, but were a substantial threat to the realm, provided anybody ever actually won. So Kelvin Blackstaff imprisoned them in a Demon's Stone. Our three characters here, in trying to avoid the situation, inadvertently wind up setting both of those villains free, and the rest of the game is of course about trying to right that mistake. We do this by playing across a few different levels of basically just old action hack and slash type levels. It's fine, I guess. But I will say right away, this is probably where you're going to find out pretty quick that the controls in particular did not translate to keyboard and mouse very well. They are very restrictive. You can't customize much. The way it works with the camera and stuff, you'll often just run off in weird directions. A lot of the keybinds are definitely a little strange, with you having to press like T to throw stuff. It's certainly a bit of an odd duck, but you do actually, once you get going anyway, control all three of these characters mostly at once, and with each of them representing a different D&D class, there is actually some variation in gameplay there. Rannick is a pretty straightforward fighter. You're going to swing that sword around and deal as much damage as you can. Zhai, on the other hand, is a rogue and is actually able to use shadows that you can see when you are playing as her to go into stealth, and if you can get behind enemies, you can perform sneak attacks this way. Ilias, being the mage, is able to actually cast spells, has a little bit of utility in terms of buffing your characters up, that kind of thing. On top of this, though, once you beat the Orc King at the end of Chapter 2, you get some extra items that provide you some extra utility, like Gauntlets of Ogre Power that lets you smash things. Zhai gets a jump ring, which allows her to actually do a little bit of platforming, as an example, and then Ilias gets Beads of Force that he can drop as like little mini grenades, more or less. Now, you don't really get to, use spells through like menus or anything like that, but rather as an action game, it's usually like a bunch of combos, that kind of thing. And this will perform their various abilities and wind-ups, and then as you go through the game, you'll be able to get all these upgrades. Now, at the end of each chapter, you'll earn experience and gold based on how you did. Basically, how many enemies you killed, how much of the gold you actually picked up, secrets found, that kind of thing. In between the chapters, you'll be able to spend both gold and experience on your characters to upgrade both their equipment as well as their abilities and everything. This is how they're going to be able to learn to do more or upgrade their abilities and their equipment, which makes them, of course, more ready to fight the ever-growing threat of the things you are facing. And it's a pretty wide-ranging adventure, from the Gemspark mines all the way to the jungles of Chult at one point, and even an area with like frost trolls, as I recall. Pretty diverse amount of biomes. There's a wood elf village at one point, but honestly, just from seeing what you see on screen here, that's pretty much what there is to know. It's not a terribly complicated game, but I did want to talk about the things that like came flooding back to me when I remembered this game, and that is primarily the voice acting. A lot of that is surprisingly good, especially for the time. And on top of that, the story itself is actually pretty solid. Obviously the gameplay isn't the best version of that story, but as far as like a little D&D adventure, I think it's pretty serviceable, even if it's maybe a little, bog standard by today's standards. However, I suppose if I were to boil it down and talk about the real reason I wanted to make this video, is that it is one of those games that allowed me to, sort of just be somebody else who could actually stand up and fight against a very visible threat at a time in my life where I was pretty powerless to everything going on, to be honest. So for giving a younger version of me some peace that I needed, I kind of felt like I owed this weird janky little game a video. And if you want to roll the dice on this, it's $10 over on Steam. And if you just happen to wind up trying it or you've played it before, I would genuinely love to know what you think. I think it would make for an interesting conversation. But as for right now, I think that's pretty much going to do it. Just an odd little video I wanted to make so I could have an excuse to mention this game for some reason or another. So with that, thank you for letting me ramble. By all means, let me know how you feel about all this down in the comments section below, which of course means to like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube jazz. But regardless of any of that, truly, just thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. May you wander in wisdom and have an amazing day.